What does sacrifice mean to you, and how do you view it now?
I think sacrifice comes with the understanding of a bigger purpose, something that's bigger than you. The definition of sacrifice is giving up something, with reason, right? You're giving up one thing to allow for another thing to happen, right? That's sacrifice. You're choosing between one of two things or one of many things. Growing up, obviously, I never really understood it because my parents had a factory in downtown, and I know they worked like insane hours. They worked so hard. And for me as a kid, I was like, why don't you guys can never come to my, and you're a kid, you're a kid. You're like, oh, why can't you ever come to my like events, and why can't you come to my ceremonies? And I was like, oh, I'm getting teary talking about it. And it's just their response every time was, look, it's what they had to do. It's what they had to do. They didn't really have a choice. They didn't choose that. If every family could choose to be like wealthy, they'd choose it. Why wouldn't you? That was their way of showing love. Especially first childs. I think we get it the hardest. We're the hamster children, right? We get the experimentation happening on us. That kind of allows us to understand a little deeper as we get older. Me working now, like you said, 80, 90, 100 hours a week, it helps me understand like, dude, how hard must it have been for them? Because I know I do better now than they did back then. I'm like, dude, how did they raise like 2 kids, have a family, grandparents, all of that? How do they do all that with like half? So now I want to buy them the world, but they gave up time with family for allowing us to survive. I'm not mad at it. I'm crying about it, So I think that goes a long way. And it's something that I truly hope to understand, but also never understand someday. That's why I'm working so hard now, right? So I don't have to sacrifice that time with my kids, with my family, to do something, to have to work, right? So even for my future wife, I wanted to only work if she's passionate about it. That's the only reason why I wanted her to work. I don't want her to have to work because she has to work and has to bring something to the table. I'm going to have more than enough. Forget all that. I want her to work because she's passionate about it, right? And I think that's also a sacrifice as well. I'm sacrificing a lot right now, but later, because I grew up in a situation where I'm like, shoot, I didn't have my parents to take me around and do all these things like other kids did. I want to do all that.
We are the seeds of our parental sacrifice. And unless you're an immigrant, people like the AAPIs or Korean Americans like we are, it's an experience you will never understand. And as you said, I've grew up with so much resentment when my single mom, she couldn't be there. I was raised by a nanny a lot of times in China because I didn't see her for years on end. But I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here without what they've done. That's why I think it's not just our obligations to do what we love, but we owe it to our parents to live out the visions that we have. Otherwise, what did they sacrifice it for, right? So speaking of family, Jonathan, you are the oldest of 3. As you said, we're the first child. We are the Frankenstein of our families. We're the experiments, all these things to us to see what sticks. Most things didn't stick with me. I got a lot of beating to correct my course, which was much needed, right? You as an older brother, and now you as the employer of many, many employees on your team, right? As a COO, as a principal at Convoy Home Loans. What does brotherhood mean to you? In addition to that, what does being a mentor mean to you? Because it's all about leadership.
As an older brother, as a mentor, it's just setting a good example. Because you're being watched. You're not being watched it's not you being watched by your parents, you being watched by someone else. It doesn't matter. You are the direct person that the person that was born after you is looking up to. Because you have a year, 2 years, whatever, how many of your years, right, ahead of that person, you are being directly looked up to as a role model, regardless of whether you like it or not. Sometimes it ends up that the younger brother ends up being, way more successful than the older brother, and that's totally fine. It happens. Sometimes it ends up none of them get successful. Sometimes it ends up older brother's more successful than the younger brother, but because you're always being watched as an example, you want to be the best kind of person possible. And I think it means understanding and accepting that, hey, if someone, like if your younger brother or a mentee, right, that you're mentoring becomes more successful than you want that, because it means that you've set a good example. You were a big part in them becoming that. Dude, that's a huge win as a mentor, older brother, whatever. Like, that's a huge win for you. That's a huge testament to you. That's why our parents now, like, when they go out and they're talking to their friends, or, you know, especially like Asian parents, older parents, they love to like talk about their children, right? And the reason why they talk about their children is because, dude, you are their face. You either are putting light to their face or you are spitting on it. There's no like really in between. They gave you the opportunity to grow. And some families, very different, right? There's a lot of families that didn't happen this way. There's a lot of kids that went through a lot of like, you know, mental health issues and whatever, trauma, like besides all that. I'm not talking about any of that. And I think, you know, that's what it is. If you have a good mentor, if you have a good older brother, you have a good example, then you should be more successful. I think that's what being a good mentor / brother means. It's just literally being able to affect and impact someone's life, be that example, pave the way a little bit almost. In Korean, there's a term called 배아파, right? You know what I'm talking about? It means my stomach hurts, right? In literal translation.
From jealousy.
Yeah, it's from jealousy, right? And it's to not feel that kind of jealousy, that human aspect that you were talking about emotionally, to not feel that when someone else is succeeding. I think that's what like true brotherhood is. You succeed and you celebrate with them, not against them.
Whenever I didn't get an A in an exam, my mom's like, 내 얼굴 똥칠했어. What that means is you wiped shit all over my face. I was like, Mom, that's a little bit extreme, don't you think? It's just an exam. I got A before this, like shit on your face. Like what? But I think the intention is that they pour so much heart and sacrifice to groom us into this perfect children of them. That's why it's such a high stake to them. Just like convoy home loans for you and Dustin. You put so much skins and your sacrifice into the game that it is your baby, quite truly. That's why I think you guys are very successful. It's not just a company or a business venture. It is the representations of your values, your work ethics, your sacrifice, and of course, Dustin's leadership as well.
I feel like we're just getting started though. You know, I don't even feel like we've reached pinnacle or anything. I feel like I always come in feeling like crap, like we are at the bottom. We gotta come back up. We gotta do something different. We gotta keep grinding. And I'm always of the mindset. Dustin's the same way. You know, we text about it all night. It's like we got to do more of this. We got to do more of that. And it's always just like challenging each other to like constantly peak up and not feel like we're comfortable. Because that's the killer of success. Comfort. It's killer. There's nothing that kills success more than, besides death. Nothing that kills success more than being comfortable, right? So I feel like we're just getting started, and it's already been a year and a half-ish, but I feel like I still feel like a rookie.